Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Winner's Circle as we recap the major stakes of the past weekend, including 2 Kentucky Derby preps. Our feature race will be the Grade 1 Fantasy Stakes for 3-year-old fillies from Oaklawn Park, and we'll flash back to the 1980 Fantasy. We'll have an update on our weekly Winner's Circle Lexington Herald Leader Kentucky Derby rankings, and we'll profile a jockey who is trying to line up a Derby mount. But coming up, one of the leading 3-year-old colts has died.
Around the world, Gainesway Stallions are the leaders in the thoroughbred industry. The world's leading money-winning 3-year-old colt is Temperate Sill, a son of the Gainesway Farm stallion and classic winner Temperance Hill. Owned by the Frankfurt stable and trainer Charlie Whittingham, Temperate Sill won the $1 million Hollywood Futurity at 2 and was a 5.5-length winner of the recent $500,000 Santa Anita Derby. He has now earned over $850,000. The third leading money-winning colt of his crop is Beal French & Klein's Champion Capote, winner of the rich Breeders' Cup Juvenile, and a half-brother to the Gainesway Stallion and classic winner Exceller. Millionaire's Temperance Hill and Exceller. 2 more reasons why Gainesway Stallions are the leaders to follow in the thoroughbred industry.
The Kentucky Derby dreams of Bill Mook, Robert Snell, and William Thimgen ended last Wednesday when their talented colt, Mr. Zippity Doo-Dah, passed away. That story leads off this week's Thoroughbred News. Here's John Henderson.
Mr. Zippity Doo-Dah first sprinted into national prominence with this victory over Bet Twice and Gulch in the Key West Stakes at Hialeah in February. The Triple Crown hopeful developed a fever and a stomach disorder at the end of last month and died last Wednesday at a veterinary clinic in Lexington, Kentucky.
Well, he did everything we asked him and more, and he did it so easy. He won all his races just in hand, and there's really no telling what kind of a horse we have.
The colt by Exuberant won 4 of 5 starts. His last race was this victory in the Vulcan Stakes at Birmingham on March 14th.
This is Mr. Zippity Doo-Dah winning the Vulcan.
Voters in Wisconsin last Tuesday approved a pari-mutuel referendum that eventually will lead to horse racing in the state. The bill passed with 52% of the vote.
We have to decide whether we will decide the question of horses versus dogs or dogs and horses, or just exactly how we'll respond to that question. Even before that, potentially, is the whole question of the Racing Commission and what the makeup will look like.
The Fox River Valley between Fond du Lac and Appleton and the Milwaukee area have been mentioned as possible locations for racetracks. Jay Spurrier, chairman of the Kentucky State Harness Racing Commission, recently was elected president of the National Association of State Racing Commissioners. Spurrier says his #1 priority is to reform the licensing procedure for horsemen.
I visited with Lyle Roby of Calumet Farms last week, and he had 7 applications from 7 states, 7 sets of fingerprint cards, and he just looked at me and he said, when are we going to accomplish this and get this changed around?
Spurrier is the first harness racing official to head the National Association of State Racing Commissioners in its 53-year history. The Lexington Herald Leader reported last Sunday that Churchill Downs has been selected as the host site for the 1988 Breeders' Cup. But D.G. Van Cleef, executive director of Breeders' Cup Limited, says an official announcement won't be made until the site selection committee meets April 24th.
We do not want to be premature in any announcements. It's no secret that Churchill Downs is a strong candidate for the event, but we're still making our minds up. We're still reviewing proposals from Churchill Downs, still dealing with other tracks.
Van Cleef also says officials of the Breeders' Cup have renewed an agreement with Fair Hill Racecourse in Maryland to host the second running of the $250,000 Breeders' Cup steeplechase. Census won the inaugural running last year. This year, the world's richest steeplechase will be raced on October 31st. For the first time in his illustrious stud career, Northern Dancer is showing signs of infertility and old age. Joe Hickey, general manager of the Maryland division of Winfield's Farm, where Northern Dancer has stood since 1969, says the 26-year-old stallion has been bred to 12 mares this year. Only 3 of them are in foal. Northern Dancer has sired 24 champions and a record 123 stakes winners, but his stud career may be drawing to a close. Over the past 20 years, several sons of Northern Dancer, including Nijinsky, The Minstrel, Try My Best, Stormbird, El Gran Senor, and Ajdal, have won England's richest and most prestigious race for 2-year-olds, the Group 1 Dewhurst Stakes at Newmarket. When the race is renewed this October 16th, it will be under the sponsorship of Three Chimneys Farm of Kentucky.
And we felt like it was an opportunity for us to put a little bit back into the European game. We sell a lot of yearlings to the Europeans, and we felt like it was an opportunity for us to put some back.
Clay's Three Chimneys Farm has agreed to sponsor the Dewhurst Stakes for the next 3 years. A new book is on the market, which should appeal to both breeders and bettors. Industry analyst Bill Oppenheim is co-editor of Principal American Racehorses of 1986, which assigns a speed figure and includes comments on 1,500 American runners.
For example, the highest rated horses in America last year for us were Precisionist and Phone Trick, equal high rated at 125. One interesting thing we discovered is that we disagree in almost every category with the Eclipse Awards and certainly with the results of the Breeders' Cup, for example.
Noted Washington Post turf columnist Andy Beyer is co-editor of the book with Oppenheim. A.I. Butch Savin, for many years one of the nation's leading owners and breeders, died April 6th in Connecticut at the age of 85. His best horses were Forward Gal, champion 2-year-old filly of 1970, and Mr. Byers. This is John Henderson reporting for the Winner's Circle.
We'll begin our first racing segment with an outstanding field of sprinters at Aqueduct. The field for this Grade 2 race, the Bold Ruler Stakes, included Zany Tactics, who was coming off a world record 106-4 for 6 furlongs, and the speedy mare Pine Tree Lane. But the 8-5 favorite for the $150,000 added event was O'Geigen, who was making his first start in 7 months. Here's the call by Marshall Cassidy.
The half and 44 left. Pine Tree Lane leads still by a length. Then Play the King. Zany Tactics heads of her second and third. Love It Mac is fourth. They're at the 8th pole. Pine Tree Lane on the rail still leads by about a length, and Play the King is second. Love That Mac gaining ground quickly on the outside. They pass 16th pole. Pine Tree Lane leads, then Love That Mac and Play the King. Pine Tree Lane has the lead.
Angel Cordero takes the mare Pine Tree Lane wire to wire. She finished a length and a half in front of Love That Mac, 6 furlongs in 109 flat. The 5-year-old mare by Appalachia has won 4 graded stakes this year. Pine Tree Lane has won or placed in 8 added money races during her career, most of them since she was purchased last year by Leonard Mathis and Wayne Lucas took over her training. Originally sold for $22,000 as a yearling at the Fasig-Tipton, Kentucky September sale, Pine Tree Lane has earned $753,000. Next to Santa Anita for the Grade 2 San Bernardino handicap, worth $200,000 added. Hopeful Word was the 7-5 favorite while conceding from 4 to 8 pounds to his rivals. The Charlie Whittingham trained entry of Bruiser and Judge Angelucci postward at 3-2. Here's Trevor Denman.
Heads a turn for home in the San Bernardino, and now Bill Shoemaker's asking Judge Angelucci to run. Ionizers right alongside of him, and these two pass the 8th pole together. Judge Angelucci on the inside, and Ionize right alongside. Vision Wonder third. Judge Angelucci's finding more on the inside though, and it's Judge Angelucci and Bill Shoemaker taking the San Bernardino.
The Whittingham-Shoemaker duo strikes again. After having won both the Santa Anita Derby and the Santa Barbara handicap a week earlier, the two veterans team up again for Judge Angelucci's 3/4 length victory in the San Bernardino, the time 148-2. The 78-year-old Whittingham and the 55-year-old Shoemaker have combined for 8 stakes wins at the current Santa Anita meeting. Shoemaker has won 971 career stakes, 236 of them in races worth at least $100,000. That was the initial stakes victory for Judge Angelucci, who was coming off consecutive allowance victories at Santa Anita. The 4-year-old colt by Honest Pleasure is named for a circuit judge in Lexington, Kentucky. Judge Angelucci was bred in Kentucky by Tom Gentry and has earned $173,000 racing for Tom's son, Olin. Coming up, our weekly report on 5-year-olds. 5 years ago, at the tender age of 16, jockey Cowboy Jack Kinneal won the Preakness aboard a Lomas Ruler. But despite that victory and other major successes, he has never ridden in the Kentucky Derby. That's why Canneel has brought his Western hats and his tack to Keeneland this spring to try to line up a Derby mount. Mark Sock has this profile.
When Jack Canneel was 15, he wanted to ride the major circuits. Legally, he couldn't do it until he was 16. But that didn't stop him from getting a license in September of 1980. Soon afterwards, he broke his maiden in Canada. Then went on to New York and Maryland, where he was Pimlico's leading rider and the nation's winningest bug, or apprentice rider, when on May 4th of 81, he was hot. 2 months before his 16th birthday.
I kind of expected to get caught way before I did, but my license was just canceled as of May 4th, and I resumed riding on my birthday on July 27th.
Even though he would lose his apprentice crown that year to Richard Migliore, his crowning achievement came less than a year later, when Canneel climbed aboard Aloma's ruler at Pimlico, and at age 16 won the Preakness Stakes, the youngest jockey ever to win a Triple Crown race.
To be honest with you, at the time, it wasn't that big of a deal. Actually, something like that don't hit you till about a week later. You know, you look back on it and say, hey, I might ride 20 more years, and this may never happen again. You know, because you look at good riders that have never won it. You know what I mean? That there's so much luck involved when you're talking about good horses.
Jack Canneel learned his trade in the bushes, those small, obscure half-mile tracks out in the Midwest. And he started at the tender age of 10 and a half.
There's no stewards, you know, no films, no nothing. So you got to learn to take care of yourself. You got to learn to, you know, do a lot of race riding. And it gets, I think, any rider when they get started riding and you're doing good with the bug, you go into a slump and it affects them mentally. I've seen it happen a lot of times. What was lucky with me was I went through all those periods, you know, in the bushes.
So by the time he broke into the major tracks, he had over 500 wins under his belt and a maturity that belied his age and boyish looks. And now, with the Preakness and several other major stakes wins, and this world record over 6 furlongs on zany tactics to its credit, the Cowboy is looking to get serious Derby mounts. After 3 years of riding Derby hopefuls, ended up in the dust.
In order to get in that position, you know, at one time, Pat wasn't in the position he is today. So, you know, you just acquire that by keeping, you know, riding good and steady and hard all the time.
And that's what Jack Canneel, on his first day at Keeneland, is trying to show everyone here. Reporting from Lexington, Mark Sock for the Winner's Circle.
Speaking of Keeneland, let's go there for 3-year-olds in the Grade 3 Lexington Stakes. Previously unbeaten JT's Pet headed a field of 6 in this $100,000 added race, which also offered $50,000 in Breeders' Cup premiums. And JT's Pet was favored at 70 cents on the dollar. Here's Mike Battaglia.
They're midway through the turn, and War gets the lead. Opens it out to 2 lengths. On the inside, Candy's Gold. Momentous is gaining ground in the center of the track. JT's Pet is far back and forth. Down the stretch, and War draws off by 3. Candy's Gold is second, followed by Momentous. Nearing the wire, it's War. War is going to win the Lexington Stakes, a big upset.
Herb McCauley put the nearly 17-1 long shot War on the lead turning for home, and he opened up 2.5 lengths on Candy's Gold. The time, 1:44.2. JT's Pet suffered his first loss, finishing 4th behind Momentous, and will probably miss the Kentucky Derby.
I couldn't make an excuse for him at all. In talking to Eddie Delahousie after the race, he said the horse never picked up the bit, and that's just about it. He was a paper tiger today.
He took off running, and when he did, I got him to relax doing it. So when I got to the quarter pole, I had some horse left for the stretch run.
Did he have to win today before you would go to the Derby?
Well, he had to run big today, which he did, and he really kicked in. He just widened. I couldn't be more pleased. The jock, if you notice, he strapped him once out of the gate, got position, got his mind on running.
The Triple Crown nominee War was coming off a second-place finish in the Lafayette Stakes at Keeneland. The Ridgeling by a Majestic Light is a half-brother to Judge Angelucci, who won the San Bernardino handicap the next day. War was bred in Kentucky by his owner, Tom Gentry, and has earned $156,000. Now to the Birmingham Turf Club for the inaugural running of the $350,000 guaranteed Alabama Derby. Phantom Jet was the 8-5 favorite. Here's the call by Larry Coleman.
1:11.2 for 3/4 and Lost Code. The winner of the Hoop Junior Stakes is in command at this point by 2.5 lengths. In the second spot is Home Builder. Fast Forward races in third. There's Phantom Jet on the outside in fourth. He still has 5 lengths to make up. They're in the stretch. It's Lost Code in command, leading it by 2. Home Builder races in second. Phantom Jet not going to get there on the outside. They race inside the final eighth of a mile. Lost Code still on the front end. Home Builder tries to chase him down, but it's Lost Code to win the Alabama Derby.
Birmingham's leading jockey, Gene St. Leon, rides the local favorite, Lost Code, to a length and a quarter victory over Home Builder. The time 1:51.3. The colt by the late Codex not nominated to the Triple Crown. He was coming off a victory in the Hoop Junior Stakes at Birmingham. Lost Code was bred in Florida by Mare Invest 83 Limited and sold for $7,300 at the Ocala August yearling sale. He's earned $251,000 for the Wendover stable. With the Kentucky Derby now just 2.5 weeks away, little change in our weekly Winner's Circle Lexington Herald leader Kentucky Derby rankings. Demons Be Gone remains on top, followed by Temperate Sill, but former leader Masterful Advocate is back in the top 3, replacing Crypto Clearance. One of the panelists agrees with the top 2 selections.
I like Demons Be Gone on top, and I like Temperate Sill second, and the rest I think are all in there together, and I really can't make a distinction. The reason I like Demons Be Gone is because of the 2 races he put in Arkansas this winter. The first race was especially impressive when he won the Southwest Handicap off a long layoff and nearly broke the track record. It's in debate down there what he actually did. And then he came right back and won the Rebel, also impressively, and most people are aware it's questionable about whether he beat very much down there, but I think when he comes to Louisville, he'll make a strong showing.
Demons Be Gone can strengthen his claim as the Kentucky Derby favorite with a decisive victory in the Arkansas Derby coming up this Saturday. In a moment, a disqualification in the Fantasy Stakes.
The Florida Horse of the Month for March is AI7's Phantom Jet. Phantom Jet streaked to the finish in the Tampa Bay Derby, equaling the track record and thrusting himself into the Kentucky Derby picture. Phantom Jet's competition for March honors included February Horse of the Month Marmar, who came right back in March to win Gulfstream's Bonnie Miss Stakes. As sure as the warm sun comes up, Florida consistently produces graded stakes winners like Phantom Jet. Look to Florida for your next thoroughbred decision.
During 1986 alone, Gainesway sired runners captured 10 divisional championships worldwide. Europe's Horse of the Year was Khaled Abdullah's Dancing Braid. Alan Clore's Triptychs was also a champion of Europe. Alan Paulson's Estrapade was best in America. The unbeaten El Quit, owned by Sheikh Mohammed, was a champion in France, as was Stavros Niarchos Bellamont. And another son of the world's leading sire was American champion Manila. Gainesway Stallions are the leaders to follow in the thoroughbred industry. One of the most appropriately named fillies to race this decade was Bold and Determined, who finished either first or second in 18 of her 20 starts. Her victory in the Fantasy Stakes 7 years ago is the subject of this week's flashback. Bold and Determined, now in the broodmare ranks at Waterford Farm in Kentucky, won 16 of 20 starts during her career and earned $950,000. 9 of those victories came in either Grade 1 or Grade 2 stakes. The daughter of Bold and Brave enjoyed her most success as a 3-year-old when she won 8 added money races, including the Fantasy Stakes. She faced 6 challengers in the 1980 Fantasy and went off as the 11-10 favorite. Eddie Delahousie sent Bold and Determined to the front on the first turn, and the Saron Stable filly showed the way down the backstretch. Satin Ribera challenged for the lead, and those two raced stride for stride until Bold and Determined began to pull away near the head of the stretch.
They're in the stretch, and Bold and Determined leads at 1.5 lengths. Satin Ribera is second. It's 5 lengths back to Honest and True, but she's flying in the middle. A furlong to go. Bold and Determined the leader. Satin Ribera is second. Honest and True is third in the drive for the wire. It's Bold and Determined in front.
Bold and Determined, who won by 2 1/4 lengths, was clocked in 1 minute 45 1/5 for the mile and a 16th. This triumph was one of 6 Grade 1 stakes victories during her career. A month later, she won the Kentucky Oaks at Churchill Downs, but that was the same year that Genuine Risk won the Kentucky Derby, and the 3-year-old filly championship went to Genuine Risk, even though Bold and Determined defeated her in the Grade 2 Masquette Stakes at Belmont later that season.
She was probably one of the best fillies I've ever ridden, and she just about done anything from 3/4 of a mile win at to 1.5 miles when she won the coaching club. stakes in New York.
A Son of Bold and Determined by Ali Dar sold for $1 million at the 1985 Keeneland July Select Yearling Sale, but has yet to race. This year, she was in the first book of mares, bred to Turkoman. The Grade 1 Fantasy Stakes renewed for the 15th time last Saturday at Oaklawn Park, with 7 3-year-old fillies going postward in this $250,000 added race. Hometown Queen, recent winner of the Magnolia Stakes over the track, was the 17-10 favorite. Terry Wallace has the call.
And they're off in the Fantasy. Taking command immediately, that's Chris McCarron and Very Subtle, but now up the Appalachie, driving right out there and taking command. Very Subtle settles into second along the rail. To the middle, Monogram is third. Timely Assertion, swinging a bit wide now onto the turn-in fourth. Kathy Quick has the rail in fifth. It's 3 lengths back to Hometown Queen. Trailing the field is Supercut. The opening quarter, 23-1. They let up the Appalachie get a length and 3/4. Very Subtle is still on the rail second. Monogram is third. Timely Assertion tucked inside of her in fourth. It's 4 lengths back to Kathy Quick. Another 4 to Hometown Queen and Supercut. And up the Appalachie continues to gallop along on the lead by 2.5. Very Subtle is still second. They got the half in 46-1. Timely Assertion now ducks to the inside with Gary Stevens. Monogram is still in the middle fourth. 5 lengths further back to Kathy Quick. Hometown Queen beginning to move up with Supercook. But up the Appalachie is showing her heels to this field, leading it by 2. Very Subtle is still second. Timely Assertion not making up any ground along the inside. Appears to be through as Monogram is still fourth, and Hometown Queen trying to gain 3/4 in 1:10-1. And still it is up the Appalachie with the lead. Very Subtle making up some ground. And here comes Pat Day on the outside with Hometown Queen. Up the Appalachie has the lead, 1.5 lengths. Very Subtle second, and Hometown Queen bearing down with a furlong to go. But up the Appalachie is no quit in her. Very Subtle's trying to get to her. It is up the Appalachie and Very Subtle driving to the wire. Up the Appalachie and Very Subtle at the wire. And up the Appalachie to win the Fantasy by 1 3/4 lengths.
Well, it was up the Appalachie, apparently getting her 9th victory in 10 starts. But for this infraction near the 8th pole, the order of finish was reversed, giving the victory to Very Subtle. After Mario Torres hit up the Appalachie left-handed, she moved over in front of Very Subtle and jockey Chris McCarron. The stewards awarded first-place money to Very Subtle while moving up the Appalachie down to second. Favored Hometown Queen finished third, the mile and a 16th in 1:42-2. Very Subtle has won 7 of 9 starts and has never been worse than third. She has 5 stakes victories to her credit. The Hoist the Silver filly was bred in Kentucky by J. Howard King and is a half-sister to the multiple stakes winner Schematic. Very Subtle sold for $30,000 at the California sale of 2-year-olds in training. She has earned nearly $623,000 for Ben Rochelle and the estate of Carl Grinstead. Coming up, our coast-to-coast wrap-up. Players in the East and turf specialists in the South are featured in our coast-to-coast wrap-up this week. Here's Mike Hartnett.
Our first stop is Garden State Park in New Jersey for the Betsy Ross Handicap. $50,000 added, plus $20,000 in Breeders' Cup funds. Catatonic, ridden by Don Miller, overtook favored Clemana's Rose for a 3-length victory.
And Catatonic is picking up the leaders now with every stride. They come to the deep stretch. Clemana's Rose desperate to hang on, but Catatonic flying on the outside.
Catatonic was timed in 1:45-2 for her third stakes triumph in her last 4 starts. She has earned $223,000 for Woodrow Marriott. The 5-year-old mare by Big Spruce was bred in Kentucky by Green Tree Stud and was purchased for $20,000 at the Keeneland September yearling sale. On to Gulfstream Park in Miami, where the Grade 2 Canadian Turf Handicap was split into a pair of $70,000 added divisions, each worth an additional $35,000 in Breeders' Cup premiums. In the first, Racing Star, ridden by Santiago Soto, won by 1 1/4 lengths.
Through the stretch, Racing Star has it by a length.
Racing Star covered the mile and a 16th in 1:40-4 for his second stakes victory this year. The 5-year-old horse by Baldsky was purchased for $45,000 at the Hialeah Selected Florida-bred 2-year-olds in training sale. He was bred by Farnsworth Farm and has earned $324,000 for 5-star stable. 9 also started in the second division of the Canadian Turf Handicap, and it was nearly 13-1 long shot New Colony under Victor Molina, who finished in front.
And New Colony getting through in the hedge. New Colony by a neck of the wire.
New Colony clocked in 142 flat for his first stakes victory. The 4-year-old colt by French Colonial was bred in Kentucky by Elmendorf Farm. He was purchased for $24,000 at the Fasig-Tipton, Kentucky 2-year-olds in training sale and has earned $114,000 for Silver Meadows Racing Stable.
This weekend, another Super Saturday for Triple Crown hopefuls with 4 major Kentucky Derby preps. Reports on those and much more next week on the Winner's Circle.
The Winner's Circle with Tom Hammond has been brought to you by Gainesway Farm. Around the world, Gainesway stallions are the leaders in the thoroughbred industry. Statistics and research courtesy The Thoroughbred Record. The Winner's Circle is produced by Hammond Productions of Lexington.